It's time for Waking Up with Wesley. Today's forecast and weather-wide discussion with WLOX First Alert Weather's senior meteorologist, Wesley Williams.
Waking Up with Wesley is sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.
Good morning, Mississippi, and thank you for waking up with Wesley. I'm Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. Today, we're still tracking the tropics. There is a disorganized disturbance that continues to bring us the risk of flooding rain with some downpours on and off. We'll also talk about how, maybe we'll see some improvement over the weekend, but the latest information coming in today, believe it or not, suggesting maybe this thing comes back at us next week. I'll explain in a moment, but first we want to get to the cams this morning because we've seen some rain already in some areas. This is Biloxi, the time lapse, which began a few hours ago, so it'll reset right here, and you'll look at those raindrops. You know, we've seen rain yesterday, we've seen rain today, and we're going to continue to see rain tomorrow and maybe even the day after that. This is a map that I'm going to pull up that shows you exactly how much rain some of you have seen over the last 24 hours. Now, these numbers are not exact measurements, but they are instead estimates by radar. So obviously, the places that have seen the most rain are right here from Biloxi Ocean Springs through Waveland Bay, St. Louis, and obviously that includes places like Pass Christian, Long Beach, and Gulfport, and D'Iberville. Now, earlier this morning, we saw some heavy downpours in eastern Jackson County, so that has now bumped the rain amounts up for areas on the Alabama line near Pascagoula. We can take a look at some of the numbers. You'll notice Picayune, about a ½ inch of rain, more than an inch to the northwest of that. And then take a look in Hancock County. You have about an inch of rain in places near the Louisiana line, but then you go toward areas like Bay St. Louis and it's over 3 inches of rain. Same thing in the Kiln. And then there's Harrison County. You can see almost 3 inches of rain near Pass Christian and parts of Long Beach and Gulfport. That's why a flood advisory was issued for them due to a thunderstorm yesterday evening. So we tell you all the time, we're in a flood watch and there might be more alerts coming out, and that's one of the ones that came out. They had that advisory yesterday evening. Looks like Woolmarket also picked up over a couple inches, as well as Orange Grove. D'Iberville about 1.5 inches, but there's some places near that saw even more. And then you can take a look at some of the areas to the north of there that did not get as much. Look at Stone County, Wiggins, Perkinston, not much. But then you go to Big Level, a little bit of rain. And then on the eastern side of the county, Ramsey Springs saw almost 1/3 of an inch of rain. And then we, of course, have George County. Not much in Lucedale, but just to the east of that, a ½ inch near Shipman. And it looks like about 1/10 of an inch near Agricola. Finally, Jackson County, this is where we've seen the majority of the rain this morning, and that includes areas near Helena as well as Moss Point, Pascagoula, Gaucher, about 1 inch to 2 there. Looks like also 1 inch to 2 inches near St. Martin and Ocean Springs, about 3/4 of an inch near Van Cleve. So there you have it. Looks like the majority of us have seen rain in South Mississippi over the last 24 hours. Because it's interesting, someone was telling me we didn't get any rain at all, and that does not seem to be the case for the majority of us here in South Mississippi. So let's take a look at the First Alert Weather app forecast, and you can see that those rain chances are at 70% for the majority of the day today. So you will want to have an umbrella handy as we'll continue to deal with the high chance for seeing rain at any moment today. There's a weak tropical disturbance located just offshore of our coast, and so that could make it very easy for rain to develop in and around our area. Now, we've got the first daylight satellite images of this, and I like to do a satellite analysis to see what we're watching. I'm kind of showing you what I, as a meteorologist, am watching here in this picture, just based on just cloud patterns alone. So we'll take that full screen for you, and I'll draw on the screen. So first of all, do you see where the circulation with this disturbance is? It's very subtle, but you watch some of the cloud motion here on Florida's panhandle. A lot of these clouds are moving from south to north, right? And then you look at the cloud motion into portions of Mississippi. These are moving from southeast to northwest. And then look at the cloud motion over Louisiana. These are coming in from northeast to southwest. And then you can see even these low-level clouds over the Gulf. These are kind of moving in from the northeast like that. So when you put it all together and you see these cloud patterns, they're all generally rotating around. It's hard to see what the clouds are doing on the coast of Louisiana because there's so many of them. In general, it looks like they are moving toward the southwest. This circulation might not be completely closed off, so it's hard to tell. But either way, somewhere in this vicinity here, near the Mississippi coast, that's where we have our low, our 93L, that area that we are watching, the tropical low, that's just kind of circulating in that general fashion there. And that's going to continue as we go into the next couple of days. 93L just kind of sitting, slowly moving off toward the west. And as that continues, we're going to watch these rain showers rotating around it. Now, if that is the center of 93L, if that is where it's located near the Mississippi coast, look at the lopsidedness of this, right? There's not much weather over here on the right side of this broad circulation, but there's plenty of weather, that huge cluster of storms near the Louisiana coast on the left side of this broad area of low pressure. So why is it lopsided? Why don't we have all of the thunderstorms equally distributed in a symmetric way around the center there? And the reason is because there's wind shear. You can actually see some of this right here. Look at these clouds. It's like someone just turned on a leaf blower and they're facing it to the left or to the west in this fashion, in this case. And you can see the cloud tops just shoo, shoo, just wisping away off toward the west. That is wind shear. That's strong winds upstairs in the air blowing pretty strongly from the east to the west. And so that's blowing those cloud tops off. And that wind is so strong that it is actually displacing this giant mass of storms over Louisiana, displacing it to the west of 93L's circulation. We can show you this with a bit more of a larger view on this map. Those winds that are moving from east to west are actually caused by a high pressure ridge located near Bermuda. This is basically the western flank of the Bermuda high pressure ridge. And there you can see 93L right there. But then look at these arrows and these wind particles. They're all blowing from east to west. So that's why if there is, I'll use a little icon here. Where's my weather icon for, let's do a thunderstorm cloud. So if there is any thunderstorm associated with 93L, it can't sit where the circulation is because these winds upstairs in the air are literally blowing the thunderstorms to the left side, the west side of that circulation. So this keeps this thing disorganized. As long as you don't have those two co-located, as long as you don't have all the thunderstorms co-located with that circulation, you will never see this suddenly become some kind of intense hurricane or anything like that. You need the co-location of the thunderstorms and the circulation and a well-defined center in order for this to actually become a depression, a storm, or a hurricane. And as long as those two things are separate, we don't have to worry about this suddenly becoming better organized. So that's one thing that we can thank the wind shear for keeping 93L on the disorganized side. That being said, okay, sure, this might not ever get a name. The chances for it getting a name continue to decrease. This morning, I believe they've dropped to 30%. That's a low chance, even though they have been at 40%, which was a medium chance, but today it's down to 30%. Sure, it might not get a name, but it is still going to cause tropical rains. And even though the majority of the rain is on the left side in this zone here, there are still some rain bands that are perking up on the right side. And these are moving from the Gulf toward the coast. And if you get underneath one of them, you can get into a training situation. So that's one thing that we're going to watch closely. If there's training with some of these, that means rain is rolling over the same location over and over, like a train runs over the same tracks over and over. That's what really makes those rain totals significantly higher in one or two spots. So that's why that flood watch continues through tomorrow night. So you got all day Thursday, all day Friday that South Mississippi will be under this flood watch as we still track this disorganized tropical low moving off toward the west. We will see periods of potentially heavy and possibly training rain, tropical rains, through Friday, maybe into parts of Saturday. But right now, the worst of it looks to be today, and then maybe seeing kind of a trend of decreasing the later we go. This is what we're looking at. So you can see over the next 3 days, for Thursday, you got that purple color showing heavy rain, which we kind of have already seen in some cases earlier this morning. Oops, let's try that again. Earlier this morning in parts of Jackson County, we did have some of those heavier downpours. This is going to still be with moderate to heavy rain on Friday and Friday night, and then maybe we'll see only light rain as we go to Saturday and Saturday night for most of the area. So that's our flood risk. Today, it's the worst. The bullseye of level 3 over Louisiana's coast, and level 2 out of 4 on the Mississippi coast. Then we go to tomorrow, still we're at a steady level 2 out of 4 on the Mississippi coast, but then good news, we decrease as we go to Saturday down to level 1. The lower that level means the lower the probability of seeing flooding. It's not 0, right? So Saturday there can be flooding, but it is lower. And then finally, we do get to basically a 0 risk heading into Sunday. So that's great news for your plans deeper into the weekend. This is because we are going to see that tropical moisture moving away, high pressure coming closer as we go to the second half of the weekend, Sunday into parts of Monday, next Tuesday. High pressure will be closer, the moisture moving away, and that helps us to decrease the rain chance. It will also help those temperatures to heat up. But if you clicked on the push alert to get into this video, I did hint, or it was hinted, that we might see a return of this going into next week. And you can already see that in the 7-day forecast by next Wednesday. If you have our First Alert weather app, you can already see the 10-day forecast showing this continues beyond next Wednesday into the second half of next week. So be keeping that in mind. The general trend here is less wet by the second half of the weekend, but then maybe turning wetter again by the middle of next week. We can show you this. This is the last thing I'm going to show before I go. So what we've marked here is the circle, which indicates where kind of the heart of this tropical moisture is with 93L. And that's the blue color you see there. Blue means very moist. Anywhere you have that, it's very easy for rain to develop. So that's why we're seeing these rain showers develop near that tropical low. But I've also marked this H, high pressure. It is the steering high, which will steer this moisture around it in a clockwise fashion. Watch this. So here we go on Friday. This tropical low is being steered west and north because we have high pressure located east of it, and we know that the wind around a high pressure system is clockwise, like that. So that's helping to steer 93L and its moisture toward the west and toward the north, like that. On Saturday, the high pressure moves over Florida. And with it in that location, that will help to steer 93L's remnant moisture inland over northern Louisiana and central Mississippi. Again, remember, clockwise flow, right? So that's steering this up toward the north. All right, so that's getting it away from us by the time we go to Sunday. Phew! This is why our rain chance should be lower on Sunday, because as you see, you don't have that blue color on top of South Mississippi. It's now in northern Mississippi. But remember, it didn't just go completely away or die. There's still that moisture that's sitting there. And we still have this clockwise circulation steering that moisture. Where is it going to be steered? If the high is south of it on Sunday, that means it's going to steer this stuff toward the east. Uh-oh. That's the beginning of the uh-oh, because as we go to Monday, it's slowly steering this moisture eastward into Alabama. And then take a look at next Tuesday. Now it's steering that, now the high has moved west. The high is located over Louisiana. But remember, clockwise circulation. So where is that moisture going to get steered? Down toward the south. Are you kidding me? We're going to do this again? It's a possibility. So that's what we're talking about. That's what's new today. The models are indicating maybe by the time we get to around next Tuesday or next Wednesday, the high will move into Arkansas, and with it located up there, remember the clockwise steering, so that tells us where that moisture is going to go. And yep, you guessed it, it's sending it right back down to basically exactly where it is today. So about a week from today, we might be talking about the exact same thing. Oh, a tropical low on the Gulf Coast and moisture that's keeping us into better rain chances. And this goes into next Thursday as well, where it then moves back to the west over closer to Louisiana. So yeah, you might be hearing something about that online, and yeah, I'm just here to tell you, yes, it does look like some of our models are indicating down the line we might be having to deal with this sort of scenario all over again. So something to keep in mind for the middle of next week. But in the short term, we're just dealing with the flood watch Thursday, Friday, and the flood watch is gone by the time we get to your Saturday. And we'll eventually see some decreasing rain by then. I've had a lot of people ask me about Saturday. You have events planned. Look, the Futurecast shows rain in South Mississippi at some point on Saturday. This model shows it in the morning. And then maybe we'll see rain near South Mississippi heading into Saturday midday, Saturday afternoon. But then finally, by the time we get to Saturday night, look at this, poof. All of the rain disappearing, and finally the beginning of the kind of less wet part of the weather pattern. Once we get to Saturday night, some of you asked me about your Saturday evening events, your Saturday night events. Right now, it's looking pretty good for that, as you see most of the rain finally decreasing and staying with a relatively lower chance heading into Sunday, next Monday, next Tuesday, before, like I just showed you, maybe we do it all over again heading into the middle of next week, around next Wednesday. Well, that'll do it for this edition of Waking Up with Wesley. I've been Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. I hope that you have a nice Thursday, and remember to stay safe from flooding. If you encounter a road covered in water, remember, turn around, don't drown. That'll do it for today. We'll catch you in the next one. Take care. See ya.
Waking Up with Wesley has been sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.